Hello? Oh, my reverb. How do I... There we go. You guys see me? Can you guys hear me? Is the music loud? Echo, echo, echo. Hello? Hello? You guys... Many of you guys are on my Discord. I woke up in like a whole lot of pain. And oh my goodness, it was terrible. It was terrible. I ended up sleeping 10 hours. I took like a 4-hour nap. So I think I slept like 10 hours in total today. Ugh. I'm still not feeling great. I'm still in a lot of pain. Therefore, I had to cut this lecture, this slide deck, to hopefully just be around an hour. My goal is to get this done in an hour. Yeah. And that's why I'm a little low energy. It's so unfortunate because this is the content that I want to try my best at doing, but you know, life does that, right? Life does that to you. Sorry, I'm bringing up presenter view. I have notes, but I put down I there's not that many, but I want to have as many as I can, cause I might lose train of thought really easily because I don't feel great. I didn't want to cancel it and then push back. I'd feel bad hyping this crap up and then canceling. So I'm pushing through. I'm trying to be strong and push through. It's okay, you can do— I'm not! There's no need to tell Naval secrets to learn about whole forms. Right! That is what today's lecture is about. The very, very, very basic. These are the very, very super duper basics that you would see in like the first class you take in college. Simplified even more because it's 1 hour versus a whole semester. It's 6 a.m. here. Good morning. Building my own personal nuclear-powered tugboat? Okay, first of all, why would your tugboat need to be nuclear-powered? That's like the most expensive tug— why do you even need a tug— what are you tugging? Pull everything? You just want to tug everything. 1 a.m. here. Good morning. Well, very early morning. Yes. Is it hold a 9 and stability? Very basics, very simplified, but I'm hoping that you guys can learn something. I'm hoping it sounds interesting to you. Should we start? I guess we should start. Boat! 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 So there are obviously several kinds of boats, right? And each of these boats have different desired capabilities. Maybe you're carrying passengers. Maybe you have warfighter capabilities that you want. Maybe it's just for recreation, just for you and your sweetheart. But all of these will impact its form and the requirements they'll have. I wonder if you guys can recognize any of the ships on this slide deck. Can you? Want to take a guess? Anybody? I only know 2 of the ships on here. No. Maybe you can at least guess the type of ship. You guys are silly. Well, one of them maybe. Well, anyways, each boat is unique and lovable in their own way. Types of ships or their names? Both. You can do both. Either or. You get 1 point for the type of ship, and then 1 point for their name. Do any of these have it on the side? Oh. 2 of these boats have it on the side that you can read. Anyways, I'm not here to quiz you guys. I'm here to teach you guys. But that's all you need to know. You just need to know that there are different types of ships. Moving on. Reading, looking at the boat. Very basic terminology. The most basic terminology that you will hear is port and starboard. There is a whole... You could do a whole history lecture on why we decide to say port and starboard for the different sides of the ship. Port stands for the left side, facing forward or facing towards the bow, or... I haven't explained those terms yet. You look ahead of you. If you're looking ahead, the left side is port and the right side is starboard. The way several mariners... Hi to the cat, thank you for the lurk. The way you can... a lot of mariners remember the port side is by knowing that the left, L-E-F-T, has the same number of letters for port. If you are curious about the history, very simplified is that the starboard used to be where the rudder was placed on very, very ancient boats, and then the port side is typically the type the ship, the side of the ship that would face the port, right? Because the starboard has a literal rudder there, right? So you can't really park your boat on that side. You have to park it on the other side. Then you have the bow. The bow is the most front side of the ship, the pointy bit, as some may say. And then the stern would be the back of the ship. When you go towards the bow, you're going forward. And then when you're going towards the stern, you're going aft. These are the very basic directional terms that you need to know when you're talking about boats. Other very important terms is the nautical mile, right? When you hear about ships covering distance, you often hear them talk about nautical miles. A nautical mile is 1 minute of arc alongside a line of longitude. In more basic terms, it's about 1.15 miles or 1.85 kilometers. Just a little over a normal mile. Then you'll hear knots. Knots. Knots is how many nautical miles a ship will cover per hour. And it's the most common terminology when discussing a ship's speed. Then you have the light ship. Light ship is when, how do you say? The light ship weight is the ship's most, is the weight of all of its structures, right? Its windows, its anchor, its the steel beams, all in it. That would be the light ship. Then you'll have something called the dead weight. The dead weight is the shape of everything else that a ship will typically carry, right? So you got the personnel, any water, any fuel, food, cargo, Weight that can be taken on and off of a ship is the dead weight, and then the light ship is the actual structure of the ship that you can't really remove unless you're literally damaging it. And when you're accounting for both the light ship and the dead weight, you are saying that the ship is at full load. A similar term would be the payload. The payload is the maximum weight of cargo the ship can handle. So that would be most common in like a cargo ship. A cargo ship, how much cargo can it hold? That's the payload, right? You hear it in like Overwatch, right? Overwatch. you gotta deliver the payload. It's the same thing. Then you have, very importantly, a ship's displacement. The displacement is the weight of the water that gets displaced. Duh. Teachers, there gonna be a test at the end of the class. If you guys misbehave, yes. Oftentimes, the weight of the ship is accounted for in tons. So Tonnes. Sometimes it's not very. Sometimes it changes. Sometimes people will use what's the other term? I don't remember. But typically it's in tons. But some people are weird, you know? I think those are all the terms that you really need to know. There's of course more. Oh, but that's like the very, very basics. But when we come to discuss the whole form, we have a few more terms. Sorry, I flashbanged you all. I'm not really good at making slideshows, so the slideshow might not be interesting to look at, but bear with me. Alright. We're discussing the actual hull form. These are also very basic terms that you need to know as a naval architect. We'll start easy. Start basic, right? LOA. LOA stands for length overall. This is the length of the ship from bow to stern. And then you have what we could say LPP or LBP. And this is described as the length between perpendiculars. What are the perpendiculars, you ask? Oh, so nice to ask you. We have the forward perpendicular as well as the aft perpendicular. Right? You can see it labeled in the top left, just like a general idea of where it would be. Then you have the designed waterline. That's DWL, right? So this is the waterline that the ship is designed to be at. Underneath, so from the designed waterline to the keel of the ship, you have the depth. This depth is actually, or not the depth, the draft is what I meant to say. Draft, very important. Draft is labeled as T, right? And it's labeled as T because we have depth. Depth is the full height of the ship from keel to the top, right? To the deck, or yeah, to the deck. You'll have a lot of ships that have things above the deck, but those do not count as the depth. Then you have beam. Beam is from port side to starboard side. The width of the ship, if you may. And then you have the freeboard. The freeboard is basically the opposite of draft. It is the distance from the waterline to the top of the deck. And I don't actually know what variable it would be. Does one of these have a variable for it? I think we often just call it freeboard. We just say the word freeboard, which is not very common. Typically, naval architecture is just covered in acronyms. Like so many acronyms that there is no way you would know all the acronyms. But most people will know these acronyms. Finally, you have the center line. the center line is the middle of the ship when you're looking at it transversely. You can see it labeled with CL. And they're typically like on top of each other. Do I know why? No. But okay. So you're like essentially describing a box by then. You're describing a floating box. What makes a ship, right? What makes it have all these curves and make it look real fancy? Well, we have terms for those as well. Very notable ones would be the dead rise. The dead rise is the angle at the bottom of the hull against the horizontal plane. So the big V, as I like to describe it. The V angle of the ship's hull is called the dead rise. Then you have ship camber. Camber. This is the main deck curvature. The reason why we have camber is because oftentimes you'll have what's called splashing. Splashing is when water gets on top of the deck, either due to rough seas or rain or something. Maybe someone spilled their drink on the deck. We need water to slip off. You don't want like water to just accumulate on the deck, right? You want it to slip off, and that's why all ships have camber. Then you have tumble home. Tumble home. That's one of my favorite words, tumble home. Tumble home is the inward curvature of the ship's hull above the waterline. Right? You can see it. Can you see it? Yeah, you can see it in the top right photo. This kind of gives it that shape, the ship like that like round-ish shape. And the reason why we give it tumble home is for enhanced stability, right? You get more stability. And then you have shear. Shear is a really interesting one. Basically, the ship will curve downward as you get towards midship. Midship is the middle of the ship when you look at it longitudinally. And it's really interesting because if I go back and you look at the MS Birka Stockholm, which is the cruise ship in the middle, top middle. Cruise ships, for some reason, I actually have never looked it up. Or maybe I have looked it up, but I forgot. They have no shear, right? Right, if you look at the bottom right image, you can see very clearly shear at the deck. But cruise ships typically do not have shear. Cruise liners did have shear, but cruise ships... Did I say cruise ships twice? Ocean liners. Ocean liners do have shear, but cruise ships do not have shear. Typically. Maybe it's for comfortability, you know? I've never been on a cruise ship. I get sick very easily. But those are the main terms that we talk about when we're describing a ship's hull form shape. But it's a lot to keep up with, right? Oh, I should discuss this as well, actually. In the bottom right, you can't really see it because I'm in the way. I don't want to move myself. I can't move myself right now because my second screen is covered. And I want to be able to see your guys' messages and everything. We have the 6 degrees of freedom, right? Ships, airplanes, cars do technically. They have 6 degrees of freedom. You have surge. Surge is when you go forward and backwards. You have sway, that's when you go left and right, and then heave is when you go up and down. And then you also have moments that accompany these directions. Roll is when you're rolling, so you're spinning about the x-axis there. If you ever describe like do a barrel roll. If you ever say, do a barrel roll, right? You're rolling, right? Barrel roll, rolling. Get it. Then pitch. pitches against the y-axis typically. So when you say a ship is pitching, it's tilting either at the bow or the stern. And then heave. Heave is when the ship turns. When it turns normally. It's really interesting though. If you ever hear me complain about coordinate systems, this is not the only like coordinate system where x is forward, positive x is forward. Sometimes you can have positive x go backwards, and that would cause positive z to go downwards. Personally, I like it when positive z goes upwards. I think it's more intuitive. But several naval architects do their math based off the z-axes being positive downwards. Yes, 6 degrees of freedom. Very important. Next, okay. How do we take all of these terms and make it actually like easy to look at when it comes to a ship? Because a ship is very, very complicated, right? It's not like you have a singular term of camber or tumble home across the entire length of a boat. When we are doing actual whole geometry characterization, we utilize line drawings. This line drawing is of the ship Helena. Very old ship from the, what does it say? 1841. 19th century boat. Boat. Typically, if not always, ships are symmetrical between port and starboard. Yawn? This is very interesting. How dare you? Yes, port and starboard. Ships are symmetrical. And therefore, your lines drawings, you are really only looking at half of a boat. It makes things a lot easier, in my opinion. But each of these drawings do have their own names. We have the body plan. The body plan, it can be seen on the very left. The left side of the body plan is showing the ship aft. I'm gonna sleep like a baby. Is this ASMR now? So you can say that the body plan has sectional lines of the ship. It's like if your ship is a loaf of bread. If your ship is a loaf of bread and you start taking slices of it, right? That's how you get your body plans. The left shows the aft side, and then the right shows forward, up to midship. You can see. I wonder, can you guys see my mouse? Wait. You guys can. Okay, perfect. I'm gonna start using my mouse. I should have done that at first. You see these straight lines? These straight lines are what we call buttock lines. And you can see there are actually buttock lines on all of these drawings. These all share the same drawings, but they'll look different on each one, obviously. Right. So you have your buttock lines, you have your water lines, and then the actual curvature are called stations. Ships are split into different stations longitudinally. You can see those curvatures here. Yummy. Next, we have the shear plan. This is the side view of the ship. You can see the curvatures are actually the station lines this time. And then the vertical lines... Actually, wait. No, I'm wrong. These vertical lines are stations. And these curvatures are now buttocks. These are buttocks lines. And then you can see the same water lines here. This, at the very bottom, is the half-breadth plan. This is the top view of the ship. your curvatures are now actually your water lines going down the ship. So this would be the top of the deck, and this would be the keel. This very, very most curvy one. You can see there's numbers on here. These numbers help you identify the different stations, the different buttocks lines, and when you're building the ship, when you're actually constructing the ship, you'll be comparing the same lines to each other to understand how this form builds a 3D shape. Too small? You don't need to know. You don't actually need to know these numbers, alright? I'm not expecting you to be able to actually read these. I can't read them myself. But yes, these lines drawings, and then these, how would you describe these variables are very quintessential for understanding how the ship is supposed to look. And actually this is a nice fact. So lines drawings, especially this line drawing, I believe this is probably made in CAD for a model of the ship, not the actual ship itself. Probably like a recreated model. So all lines drawings are typically done in CAD, but back then, at the height of ship design, which is the 20th century, they were actually drawn by hand. You had to do it by hand. You don't have no computers. You gotta just get down and grind. So this is a image from Harland and Wolff's Belfish drawing office in the 20th century. And these guys are drawing individual lines with graphite. Ain't that impressive? Ain't that impressive? I believe this drawing office is still up, but it's like empty. I don't think anyone uses it, but it might have been torn down by now. Come the digital age. Alright. Surprisingly, everything that I've talked about so far is like the very easy stuff to understand. We just did all the easy stuff. And unfortunately, it's only going to get exponentially more difficult from here on out. So if I lose you, be sure to ask questions. This is more whole form geometry, right? When we're describing whole form geometry, oftentimes we'll use coefficients. And there are several coefficients that we can utilize. If you see here, you might see an upside down triangle. The upside down triangle stands for the displacement volume. No exam, so I'm just here to chill. Exactly. Be sure to relax. You can relax here because there won't be any pop quiz at the end. As an architect, I've understood all of this. Perfect. Good job. You get a gold star. Alright. This one's my favorite. At the top here, this is block coefficient. This one's my favorite because you're basically describing how box is your ship. Is your ship very box or very not box? So it's the displacement volume over the length of the ship times the beam of the ship times the draft of the ship. Right? If you have a very low block coefficient, your ship not block, not boxy, right? And then the closer you get towards 1, very block, very boxy. And you'll often see a higher block coefficient when it comes to a tanker, and then a lower block coefficient when it comes to a sailboat. Because as you can imagine, you can be a lot slimmer with a lower block coefficient. you have the midship coefficient. Or a lot of times people will use the maximum section coefficient. So maximum section is wherever your boat is fattest, right? Down the longitudinal length. Where is it fat and girthy? But to simplify things, it's oftentimes midship is going to be the maximum sectional maximum section. And we have a midship symbol right here. I think this was coined by Snammy, but don't coin me on that. Or don't quote me on that. Anyways, the midship coefficient is often described as the the sectional area, if you take a slice of that boat, over the beam and the draft. Described right here. Alright. Now let's get even more difficult. We have the prismatic coefficient. This one's really important. This is a really important one. The prismatic coefficient is the displaced volume against over the length of the ship times the the same area, midship area, right? So if you take this area here, you take a slice and you take this area and you make a prism out of it, how does your ship fill out that prism? This is different from the block coefficient because the block coefficient is the length, beam, and trim, so it's a block. But this one, you can see it has the ship's dead rise. Oftentimes it'll have its camber or its tumble home influencing this prism. And the most important way you can use the prismatic coefficient is you can understand how slim a ship is. For example, the SS United States, my favorite ship, has a very low prismatic coefficient, and that allowed it to cut through the water very easily. My skinny legend. And then last but not least, or maybe it's least to you, the waterplane coefficient. So this is when you're looking at the ship top down, the area at the water line is called the waterplane. Times the length, times the beam. Easy peasy, lemon squeezy. So each of these coefficients at full load can help you determine what kind of ship is being discussed, right? For example, I talked about how tankers had a higher block coefficient. If you are talking about a boat with a much lower block coefficient, you can see that you might be discussing a sailboat or a warship or something like that. Even passenger liners probably have a block coefficient of like 0.5 something. But tankers should have a block coefficient about 0.7. Very high. Next, we have stability. Stability, right? How boat not fall? Not just how boat not sink, how boat not fall. Right? If you ever like play in a bathtub and you have like a little toy boat or something and you put it in the water and it like flops over, that's what we call capsizing. Capsizing, bad. Very bad. You do not want your boat to capsize, for you will die. So we need to determine the static stability as well as the dynamic stability of a ship. Of course, we will focus on the static stability as it's a lot easier to calculate. So when you look at a boat, you have a center of gravity, a center of buoyancy, right? These are the center of the forces, right? You have a gravity force pushing down, the buoyancy force pushing up. Where does the center of it lie? When you're looking at a boat transversely, as we are right now, we tend to put K in front of it. If you're looking at it longitudinally, you might have C or CO in front of the buoyancy. So it would be COB for center of buoyancy longitudinally, or just CB. Transversely is a lot more important, and we'll talk about that later. Now Oopsies. Oopsie poopies. I did that by accident. I'm hungry. That's good. I didn't get hungry at all today because I was in so much pain. I guess I'm feeling better now that I'm talking about something that I'm really passionate about and that I really love. I actually don't use these terms on a day-to-day basis because of my job, but of course I still know it. I'm a naval architect. I have to know it. Anyways, you see this M? This M actually stands for the meta center. And it's basically where the buoyant line of force interacts with the ship's center line, right? So if I go to this one's a lot more clearer, right? You have the center line down here, and then the center of buoyancy here, because their ship's tilting. And if you go directly vertical and you hit the center line, this is your metacentric height. It's an imaginary point. These are all imaginary points, but very important, right? The reason why it's important and you need to account for the metacenter is because you'll have a point G right next to the center of gravity. And this is GZ, and it's the righting arm that the ship will use to right itself. Therefore, in order to know whether your ship is stable, you really need to know this GZ. You can calculate GZ using I'm blocking it. Using GM, the metacentric height, times the sine theta. Theta would be this angle here that you can see. Boop, boop, boop. I should have labeled it, but I didn't label it. Now, how do you find GM? You can find GM by finding KB. KB. Typically when you calculate KB, you need to calculate with numerical analysis. Very complicated, right? You typically use Simpson's rule to calculate this. But just for estimation, you can estimate it as just 1/2 of the draft. It's going to be very close to 1/2 of the draft. Or you can calculate it using Morris's formula, which is seen here. It's 1/3 draft divided by 2. Does it the displacement over the area water plane, right? All variables that we have seen before. Easy peasy, lemon squeezy. You also need to find BM. BM is the metacentric radius. This one also requires the use of numerical analysis because you need to find I sub t. I sub t is the transverse moment of inertia. You can estimate it here, 2/3 times the integral of C over C to the power of 3 times dx over displacement. Oh, I'm blocking this part. Wait, can I move? Can I? Oh, I can't. I have to move myself. Boop, 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 boop. There we go. Now you guys can see it. Now I have to set this up again. And then PowerPoint notes. Perfect. Alright. KM. We're almost there. We're almost there, I promise. We need to solve for KM. KM is the center of buoyancy plus BM, which is the metacentric radius. And with this, you can calculate GM, which is KM minus KG. KG, you have to estimate using the ship at full load based off whole foam geometry. But essentially, KG has to be less than KM for your ship to be stable. Even have a shot at being stable. GM has to be over 0. If your GM is below 0, your ship is not stable and it will sink or it will capsize. And that would not be good. But it's very important that your GM isn't too high or too low. Because if it's I believe if it's too low, every wave that you hit on your boat, you will feel, right? You will be rocking with that boat, and it will be incredibly, or with the waves, and it will be incredibly uncomfortable. And if it's too high, you'll also have some other engineering problems that you might face. So it can't be too high or too low. I think your GM goal is around 3% of the ship's length, I believe. So, yes, calculating the stability carefully is really important. At negative stability, your ship will capsize. Very rarely, though, your ship might reach what we call neutral stability. And you want to reach neutral you don't want, like, neutral stability to be off. You want it down the center line. And the reason why is this boat. Very rarely, you'll have a nice, unique boat. This is the SS Imperator. It is a German-designed ocean liner launched in 1912. Basically, the captain discovered that depending on which direction the ship was turning, it would have a slight list to either side. Hi. I'm doing okay. I'm in a lot of pain, but I'm pushing through. Right. Where am I? Yes. You can really see it here. This is my favorite image of this boat. Oh my god. I love this image. Cause like you can really clearly see just the extreme list. It was probably a list of like 6%. Nothing bad. Right? We call that like low angle. Low angle is below 15 degrees. But this is like a 6-degree list. And it's very uncomfortable. It is incredibly uncomfortable, right? If you're turning and you start fucking like wah, 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 or actually wait, like doing like this, bah, 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 it can be very uncomfortable as the ship is moving. And you will always be on a tilt, right? You will always be on a tilt. That sucks butt. So very uncomfortable for riders and sailors on board. As soon as they discovered it, they actually tried to fix it. They took out all the furniture of the ship. I'm gonna take a sip. Isn't it natural to be thrown around in a multi-100,000-ton ship? No. No. You want to reduce that as much as possible, right? Especially if you're an ocean liner. An ocean liner is all about luxury. It's all about the rich people and making money, right? If you're being thrown around and people are getting sick on the boat, like they're drinking, they're smoking, they're playing games. If you're being thrown around, your cards are being thrown around all over the place, and you're getting sick, and it's going to be an overall uncomfortable situation. What if I saw an iceberg while drunk and sloshing around? You wouldn't. I mean, maybe you would. So, if you did, and it's bright and early, let it be known that your captain has already seen it, and they're going to take the right steps. If it's on a moonless night, like the Titanic, and you see it, you're dead. You're dead. You can't do anything. You're actually doomed. Go straight ahead. We'll talk about this when we talk about the Titanic. We're gonna go over the whole Titanic story. Going straight ahead might be your best shot. Going straight ahead towards the iceberg might be your best shot at surviving. How ironic, right? But because of this ship having a permanent list It was called the SS Limperator. Very cute. And it's one of the reasons why it's probably one of my favorite ships. Right! How did they try to fix it? They did try to fix it. I don't know if they've ever fixed it entirely, but they did try to fix it. They literally had to take all the furniture out and replace it with very light furniture. Basic ass, light ass furniture. They cut down the size of the funnels. And then they literally added cement. They added cement to the double bottom, right? So they changed the furniture to be their goal when they did this is to drag the center of gravity down as far as they can. So they added cement to the double bottom. They had all the furniture be lighter, and they cut down the funnel, putting down the center of gravity, the center of the weight, down towards the keel. Excuse me. I don't know, and again, I don't know if they fixed it. You can also see the ship listing starboard here in this image. Very beautiful. Very gorgeous. Good old SS Limperator. What else affects your transfer stability? We have what we call free surface effects. Hi, Murph. How are you doing? You off from work? Free surface effects is the change in the center of gravity due to the liquid stored in the vessel. Obviously, when you're at full load and you haven't used any fuel, your tanks will be completely full and you're not going to have any free surface effects. And then as you start using up that fuel, as your fuel tanks become half full or half empty, depending on your perspective in life, you will start having free surface effects. I'm at my parents' house for 4th of July. Oh, have fun. Make sure you watch that, fireworks with them. It can also happen to gravel or grain. If you have gravel or grain as one of your cargoes, as your payload, those can also cause free surface effects. So it's very important that you can calculate the change of GM, accounting for these free surface effects. What kind of ship could you make if I gave you $1 trillion? You're gonna be my ChatGPT for today? $1 trillion, so 1,000 times $1 billion. I don't think you would get one ship. I think you would get a very large fleet of ships. Kind of hard to watch them when my dog is scared of them. Oh, that's unfortunate. No scared little pupper. Then make sure you comfort your pupper during the fireworks show. All right. We already went through a bunch of math when we had to calculate stability and the coefficients. So we won't go too deeply into calculating free surface effects. But G prime M is basically your new metacentric height. GG prime or GG1 is this change in the center of gravity. Right? Can we get these slides later? You can get them in the VOD. I probably will make an actual video, not just a live stream based off of these slides. Because, again, I'm not feeling my best. And I feel like I can do a way better job. Are we expected to take notes this class? No. I'm not going to quiz you guys. I just want you guys to learn as much as you can. I forgot already how fireworks look like IRL. There are no fireworks here for many years now. I'm really sorry to hear that, Yuso. Teacher, when is it? There is no exam! You sit your butt down and you just listen to me and eat popcorn! Alright? Is there a Google Classroom? No! There is no classroom. You get the slides here and now and in the VOD that you can access on my YouTube channel. And you will be happy about it. My stomach growled. I'm hungry. Need the files? You don't need the files. They're not pretty. They're ugly. I don't want to send it to you guys because they're ugly. They don't look nice. No blackboard even? No! Sit your butts down. Behave. Stop talking in class. Oh, actually, you guys are asking questions. You guys are allowed to ask questions. Very similarly, you have freely suspended weights. So this is not just according to liquids or fluids or grain. This is any sort of weight. If you're lifting weight with and you're suspending it, right? It can swing. And this can be a also change your center of gravity. But it has a different formula. W stands for the weight of your cargo, and D is the height of which you lift it. And then delta is the weight of the ship. The light ship weight. I have to use the bathroom. Can I have the key? There is no key to the bathroom. We are not doing this lecture at a gas station. The bathroom is open and has stalls. Or it is your own private bathroom, and therefore you have your own key. I'm surprised you locked yourself out of your own bathroom. Does cake and pizza count? Oh, I want cake and pizza. You haven't said a word out loud here? I can hear it in my brain. I can hear it in my schizo brain. But anyways, yes, very important. Free surface effects and freely suspended weights will also impact your stability. You don't want to capsize just because you're lifting something. That would be really sad. So this is a diagram of longitudinal stability. Stability isn't as much as a concern longitudinally because it's a lot harder to capsize this way. However, you do want to have an even keel for the most part. So by calculating this, you can see how easy it would for your ship to what we call trimming. Trimming is AKA pitching, right? Same thing, same biggie. This could be really important for ocean liners, cruise liners, or cargo ships because you can cause damage to your cargo. You can make people sick. Or you can literally drop cargo into the water if you have a very bad, very susceptible to trimming. All the stability information of your ship should be compiled into graphs known as hydrostatic lines. Coconut cake and pizza with metric ton pepperoni. That sounds really good. That sounds really good. I'm hungry. I've been feeling really bad all day. So now that I'm actually getting hungry, it makes me happy. Anyway, hydrostatic curves. I do not expect you guys to be able to read these. Alright, there's no test. Just look at them and look at how pretty they are. Just admire them. They're just sitting here and looking pretty. But it's important to have these hydrostatic curves because as you can see, they're at the top here, there is a scale of displacement in tons. So you're taking into account different loading conditions from light ship weight to full capacity, full load. All of your values are going to change. Right? There's wetted surface here of the bare hole. There's the water plane coefficient and the prismatic coefficient, as well as the block coefficient. Right? All this information's on here. Lines, it's just lines. It's lines with information. Just like the lines drawings. It's not, no, it's not too hard to understand it because it's providing you information, you know? But as you can see here, these also have references to stations. This says Station 5 here, LCB from Station 5, LCF from Station 5. Anything else? Increase in displacement for 1 centimeters of trim by stern. So if you start trimming, your displacement might the water that you're displacing is also going to change, right? Very complicated. Very complicated, and therefore I don't expect you guys to be able to read these. But it's important to know about these hydrostatic curves if you want to get into naval architecture. Thank you for following Only Shenshi. I really appreciate it. Boat, boat, boat! Alright. Damage. There's no test! Damage! You know what there's gonna be? There's gonna be damage to my brain if you keep asking about the test. That's not gonna happen. Damage. Isn't this exciting? Right? To combat any damage that could happen to a ship and cause flooding, ships are often equipped with double bottoms and bulkheads, which would isolate any flooding to only one section. I actually believe Titanic did not have a double bottom. I don't think it would have mattered, but I don't believe Titanic had a double bottom, and the double bottom was only implemented on later ships, which I believe would have been the Britannic? I believe the Britannic. But the reason why we split our boats by bulkheads is we want to isolate any flooding to happen in only one section, right? So that if there is any damage, the boat is not going to just automatically sink. What do double bottoms do? It's like armor, right? So you see on this left side, this is a double bottom, right? If this outer hull were to be breached, any flooding would only happen within the double bottom and not breach the second inner layer. Alright, bulkheads. Bulkheads are split up by watertight doors. Oftentimes they run from, you have transverse bulkheads. Transverse bulkheads are these ones that run from port to starboard. And then you have longitudinal bulkheads, which go forward to aft. These transverse bulkheads are a lot more common, and you'll hear about them a lot more. Oftentimes they are split by the stations of the boats that we talked about. But you are able to find longitudinal bulkheads in cargo ships and tankers. But you do need to be really careful about designing ships with longitudinal bulkheads, because poorly designed bulkheads in terms of locations, if one side were to be damaged and flood, it can cause the ship to list or even capsize, because keep in mind it's going to be affecting your transfer stability, which is the most concernable. All right. In fact, let us note RMS Lusitania, which is in this bottom right corner. RMS Lusitania did have longitudinal bulkheads, and the flooding caused the ship to capsize. So how do you calculate your stability during flooding? When flooding occurs, all the buoyancy from that particular compartment, watertight compartment, is lost. And depending on where that occurs, it can cause trimming, even keel sinkage, or both. Even keel sinkage is when at even keel the ship is sinking downwards, and then trimming is when it's pitching. Most ships are designed to be able to withstand 2 compartments adjacent to each other to flood. It was the same for the Titanic. The Titanic is designed to withstand 2 central compartments to flood, and then 4 compartments forward and aft. And these compartments are not they are not watertight at the top, right? There's no lid to these watertight compartments. It's just a bulkhead. Like, it's just a wall, right? And a lot of times people ask, why do you not, like, put a cap on these watertight compartments? And that's because when you're flooding, the water is going to go up to the water line of the ocean. And these bulkheads are just simply designed to be above the water line, right? Keep in mind, if you have to design a lid, you're putting extra weight close to the top of the ship, right? So you're raising your center of gravity. And by the time you get spillover from one compartment to another, like, you're probably already dead. So there's no point. Alright, we're almost done. We're on the second to last slide now. Second to last slide. How do we combat the 6 degrees of freedom? Right? This is what we tried to talk about earlier. Right? Yes, ships roll, ships pitch, ships yaw. But you don't want your rolling and your pitching to be very excessive, because it will be incredibly uncomfortable. So how do we combat those? Rolling is going to be the most common dynamic stability issue that you can run into. It will especially cause seasickness the farther away you are from the center line, and any objects or tall structures above the deck can be damaged from severe rolling, right? Imagine your funnel. You have a funnel. You are the Titanic, and you have a very unsecured funnel, and you tilt very heavily. You rolled very heavily. That funnel is now having a downward force at the tip of, at the very top of it, and that can cause it to break off. And that would be bad. That would be really bad. How do we combat it? We have several ways to combat it. We have what's over here called a bilge keel. This is a structure that sticks out from the keel on the port side and starboard side. So when you start to tilt and you start to roll, it's going to generate a force in the opposite direction of the roll. And it's not going to prevent rolling entirely, but it's going to make sure that you're not rolling excessively. Additionally, we have fin stabilizers. Fin stabilizers can pivot to counteract rolling when the ship is moving forward. So this is most useful when the ship is moving, right? This bilge keel is going to be the most useful when you're at port and you're swaying back and forth. Additionally, you have anti-rolling tanks. Anti-rolling tanks utilize fluid momentum to have its weight to combat roll. As you can see, this anti-rolling couple. Additionally, I feel like hacks would probably think about these. Spinning gyroscopes can also be found, but they're typically on very small vessels because they can be very cumbersome to have and build. Pitching is most dangerous during high sea states, so very rough seas. If you got rough seas, choppy seas, pitching is really dangerous because the bow of the ship can emerge from the water and slam back down. There's actually several videos of it happening, and it's really cool, but it can damage the hull. Have you done a paper or read on the Vasa, the giant Swedish warship that has the most amount of armaments on it and sank after minutes of her maiden voyage due to a wind slightly stronger than a breeze? No, I have not heard of it. But that sucks. That absolutely sucks. That's so sad. But luckily with capsizing, if you're... Oh, it sank. Never mind. It sank. That extra sucks. If it just capsized, you can easily, you know, grab the ship. But if you sink and it's at the bottom, that's very unfortunate. All right. Yep, you can injure the hull, you can injure the cargo, or you can even injure personnel if you slam back into the water strong enough. Similarly, if the stern emerges from the water, the propellers there are no longer producing any torque, and you can end up damaging your machinery that way. Unfortunately, the best way to combat pitching is by having a good design as well as a good captain. Avoiding heavy seas, going at a slow speed, preventing splashing are the best ways to combat any pitching from happening. Yawing is bad, right? Yawing, you will yaw typically because you need to turn your ship. But yawing based off of breezes, based off waves, can be really bad because it's making your ship harder to steer. And if your ship is hard to steer, you can collide into other ships, or you can, even worse, collide into an Australian coastline. And then you are guaranteed to sink by then. So it's best to use the ship's rudder to prevent any yaw from happening. Some of these boats may have what we call a skeg. This is a skeg here. Or smaller recreational vessels like a yacht or a sailboat might purposely have the boat trim towards the stern. So it's kind of like looking up, because that will also make it more stable. And that's how you combat dynamic stability. Very important. And that's it. That's it. That's it. Thank you so much for subscribing. Oh, there's ads. I'm sorry about the ads. But that's it. That's very, very... In the whole scheme of things, in my opinion, this is the most easiest part of naval architecture. This whole stream I learned port and starboard is left and right. The formula for CB, CM, CP, CWP. Don't know when it would be useful, but it's interesting. It will be useful! It will be useful. I swear. It'll be so useful. Thank you for the lesson. You're welcome. Thank you for class. Yeah, you're welcome. When do we submit our assignments? If you give me an assignment to correct, I will be very, very confused. I will be very confused. The Olympic! Yes! Yes! Congratulations on recognizing the Olympic. Yes, we have the RMS Majestic and the RMS Olympic in this photo. Both very beautiful ships. How does block coefficient even be useful to us? Block coefficient is useful because now you can determine how block a ship is. How close is a ship to a box? Isn't that very important? Don't you want to know how boxy your boats are? Personally, I would like to know. Time to design a whole ship for an assignment. You can design a whole ship for an assignment, and if you give me its body plans and its hydrostatic curves, I can then determine whether your ship will sink. I can be like, this is a bad boat, or this is a very good boat. Anyways. I'm glad we actually finished at a really good time, really good pace, in just over an hour. Unfortunately, that is all I have for today. I am in so much pain. I am in so much pain, and I am hungry. I hope you guys. Oh, very important. Okay, wait. Let me go back here. Or actually, let me go here. I felt like this is actually really important. With that, that concludes my three days of streaming for my 3.0 debut. Do you stream every day? No. This was my third day and last stream of this 3-day celebration of my 3.0 model birthday debut / second anniversary. I want to thank you guys for showing up again and again to my streams. I really appreciate it. I am ecstatic to have this new form. Happy birthday. Thank you. My birthday was yesterday. Today's my dad's birthday, actually. Today's my birthday, where I got the cake and pizza. Happy birthday! Happy birthday! It's also Umi's birthday. I should say happy birthday to Umi, too. But I had a lot of fun. I had a whole lot of fun. If you guys do want to keep up with me and see my other streams, if you're on YouTube, I will often have waiting rooms open ahead of time. So if you guys like check back every now and then, you'll be able to see whether a stream is happening. I may also post my schedules. I will try my best to have weekly schedules when a stream is happening. And I'll post those on the community tab, or I can post those on Twitter, or you will see them in Discord, right? I will make sure that they go onto multiple different places, and you guys can peruse and see it and show up maybe. If you want to know what other content I plan to do, I plan to do basically what I've done these past couple of days. I will sing sometimes, I will play games sometimes, and then I will talk about engineering sometimes. Though probably not often. I will probably be focusing engineering naval architecture content into long-form YouTube videos. So please subscribe to my YouTube channel to catch those. I would really appreciate it. If you are interested in catching any shorts that I upload of my streams, please catch me at Squidbols VODs. You look different? That's because I am different. I'm a changed squid. That put me out of my wheelchair to celebrate with my family. One of the gifts I got was a crochet of an emotional support pickle. I love emotional support pickles. I love pickles. I have pickles in my fridge. I'm gonna eat some pickles. Worth staying up all night? Thank you. I appreciate it. Please go to sleep now. And rest soundly. So we won't go back to the normal timetable? No. I do not expect to be going to the normal timetable. Because I want to focus a lot more on my health. Right? Because my health has been going down. The pain today isn't super directly connected towards my health, but I have been having bouts of pain every now and then due to my health, and I want to like focus more on it. But I still plan to stream at least every week. I want to stream every week. Maybe more streams towards the weekends, because I would like to spend more time with you guys than just an hour. Legit, I just woke up. Oh, shit. Oh, I guess we have to go through this whole thing again. I guess we have to go through the entire slide deck again. All this. All this. Anyways. Oh, you guys can see it. I'm on this side. Oops, I thought I was still on my... Anyways, I'm an idiot. Take better care of yourself. Thank you. I'm gonna try my best, but I love streaming. I love streaming so much. I love having passions. I love being a VTuber. There is not much that makes me more happy. Like, this hobby has been so beneficial for me. I love working hard towards something, towards, you know, I don't know how to explain it. All I can say is that VTubing makes me really happy. And I would like to stay here as long as possible. So I'm going to try my best to make content that is sustainable for me. And I hope that you guys can look forward to all of them. Everything that I produce. But yes, if you are curious about following what content I make, you can either have your notifications on Twitch or YouTube, or you can follow me on Twitter or Discord. Other than that, I think I will leave you guys. I will try my best to put up a schedule over the weekend for the next week. I will see you guys another time. Bye bye. Bye bye.